Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Specifying Practice Group.
Well, this is Dave Stutzman, and I'm coming to you today from Philadelphia. I'm torturing Lewis by being out on the road again and forcing him to run the show today. But I just finished attending GlassCon, the first of the conferences, and they chose Philadelphia this year, and it was really a sister conference for a glass conference that's held every 2 years in Finland. So it was a really interesting conference, and we may be able to share some of that information with you if we have time here at the end of today. So Lewis.
Yes.
Over to you. Where are you today? In the office?
Oh, I'm in the office in beautiful downtown Nashville. It's a little overcast, but not too bad. And getting ready to head up to my hometown of Cincinnati this tomorrow morning for a little family reunion, see kith and kin.
Well, good. Safe travels to you. We picked a topic today that seemed to have hit a nerve, I think. Lewis told me we had a tremendous number that actually signed up for the webinar today, and we already have a good representative crew on, signed in. We have over 80 that are attending today, so this is fabulous.
Especially since they are obviously some of the most intelligent and persevering and hard-working specifiers in the whole world, much less the country.
Well, that's right, of course. Okay, so Lewis was saying, because it seemed to be a hot topic, I was telling him that this topic sort of picked me. I didn't really pick it, and it's because of some of the recent experiences I've had trying to help design teams be able to find the information that they need to be able to have at their fingertips information that they need to make decisions, and making sure that they have everything that they need to make valid decisions. Okay, so Lewis, you're driving today.
Yes, just tell me when to.
Okay, I think you can. Well, part of the concern in trying to find the information is it really is to where are you going to find it, and we're surrounded by it. I think electronically we can find virtually anything that we want, but at the same time, even though we're searching everywhere, sometimes that results takes us absolutely nowhere. We end up spending a lot of time running around in circles trying to find the right information, and may never find it.
Yeah, if you can't find the information, you don't have it.
Right.
And even though it may be secreted in a file somewhere, but if you can't find it, you can't retrieve it, you don't have it.
And you may spend a tremendous amount of time just continuous searching and still not find it, and that's part of the problem. Okay, so go ahead, Lewis.
And of course, here's our purpose, is that good decisions have to be made based on real information, and we document those as contractual requirements. That's what we're after. As much as we all love to learn stuff just for the fun of it, ultimately it has to turn up in design documents for improvements to real property. So where do we start, David?
Well, these look like three good spots to start. I liked the one that you added, the corporate memory. And the other two, the discovery and search, I think offer a sort of a different path to the information. So why don't you tell us about the corporate memory?
Well, one of the things that, when I first started in this business as a cub draftsman back in the 60s as a co-op student at the University of Cincinnati, I'd be drawing something and the boss would say, well, there's go look in such and such a job, and there's a detail of how the sorry about that, about how that storefront should fit into the wall. And so I'd go look it up and adapt it, partly copy it. So that's what we're talking about, corporate memory. Corporate memory can also be, you go to the old guy or the old gal in the office that's got a lot of gray hair and say, oh man, I just don't know what to do about this. Have you ever run into anything like this? And you may or may not get some help. But a lot of the corporate memory can be stored in spec masters. Even if you subscribe to one of the standard systems, whether it's a BSD spec link or ARCOM master spec, you can insert editing notes into those. You can also delete products from them that you do not want your people to use, like PVC flashing in the masonry section. And you can, as I say, add little notes saying don't ever do this, or here's when to do this and when to choose the other thing, that are based on all of that experience that you've built up over the years. Feedback from your field representatives is critical to successful specifications, and again, you can embody those not by keeping them between your ears, but put them into editing notes to yourself or to any other users in your spec masters. And of course, as I mentioned, some firms have standard details or successful details that worked on the previous project. And then there are, as I say, internal specialists. There may be somebody in your firm who's really good at code interpretation, someone who is a certified lead AP or has some other specialty. My firm has a couple of special market areas that we do healthcare projects and airport projects. And in both cases, there are people that are go-to for designing operating rooms or for dealing with baggage handling systems or other specialized design things.
Well, I think you hit on it, Louis, with the final comment here, is that it's really about collecting all of your experience and using that to improve results for future projects. The one comment I'd like to add on the spec masters is you may want to consider even developing a scheme for inserting the notes, because we actually have several different kinds of notes that we insert into our masters, and they're coded differently so that we know the purpose for each. So there are the standard spec editing notes, and in master spec they show up as the blue notes in the document, but we're not using those to capture the corporate memory. We're using a different form so that it makes sure that it stands out.
Yes, I use a different font and a different color. My editing notes are all in green, for example, and I use a different font and make them quite distinctive, and even say GSP notes so that people understand the difference between what's coming from ARCOM and what's based on our experience as a firm. But like I say, I can't overstress the I don't think I can overstress the importance of getting this stuff down, because it's too hard won. It costs so much to get experience that we really do need to record it to make sure that other people have access to it.
Okay.
And
so
spec masters are one of the best places.
Maybe we should ask Matt to put up the first poll. Let's find out what the other folks out there are actually doing with their own spec masters.
Let's do that.
Well, while I put that up, Dave,
help us out, Matt.
Yep, Dave or Louis, I wanted to just check. There seems to be a clicking noise coming from one of you all. I'm not sure if that's background audio or an internal audio thing. So just wanted to give you a heads up. But here's the first poll.
Okay, so everyone out there, we have, oh my goodness, Louis, we could break a record today. We have 97 on this webinar.
That is a record.
And that would be amazing if we went over 100 today. I would be absolutely thrilled. So tell us what you think.
All right, I'm going to give it just a few more seconds here before I close the poll and share the results. We're at 55% voted, so everybody get out there, get out the vote, I guess, is the old saying.
Vote early, vote often.
That's only if you're in Chicago.
That's also what Pogo used to say, or was it Albert?
All right, I'm going to close and share the results. We're at 70% voted, so here we go. Share the results here for you. You'll see on the screen, hopefully. I'm not Dave. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so the results are on the board. I'll let you describe what you see there.
Okay, well, I'm thrilled to see that we have the almost 20% using extensive notes, and you combine that with the almost 50%, so nearly 70% of you are relying on the masters for collecting your experience, collecting the results of your projects so that you can do a better job the next time. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, very, very encouraging. That's exactly the right thing. Well, where do we go from here?
Well, I was just going to interject here as I switch off this poll. One comment came in today saying from Kevin, from corporate experience, one item to guard against is the tendency to make changes based on every project. So if you want to answer that as I switch off this poll, feel free to go from there.
You do have to be careful that when we're editing the spec masters that you leave enough things in there for people to make intelligent decisions and adjust the level of quality, for example, and the costs for different kinds of projects rather than just only using one kind of flashing, to use the example that I used earlier. But I don't want anybody ever in my firm to use PVC flashing in masonry. That's another discussion we can have on another day. But you do have to be careful about making short-term changes to the master or even notes to make sure that what you're putting in there is really based on experience and not just some isolated event.
Okay, so let's press on here a little bit, and I think one of the other ways that we can actually find information is through what I'm calling discovery. And the advantage that I saw, at least when first starting into this business, Suites catalogs, when they've essentially contained the entire of manufacturers' catalogs, was a great resource because you could page through and learn about things, even things that you were not necessarily searching for, because it was convenient. It was easy.
Let's describe those. Back in the 1960s, again, when I started, they were probably at their maximum size, and this was a set of volumes that were each of them about 3 inches thick, and they took up a shelf space of about 6, maybe 7 feet, and they were arranged, of course, by master format numbers and divisions, and you know, they had short brochures from most of the manufacturers that were available, especially all the national manufacturers, and so those were very useful tools, and you got a new set every year, and a lot of people took the old sets home with them or donated them to the local college or whatever because they were an invaluable resource. I mean, we're talking about long before the internet, where the only thing you had was printed stuff, and those green volumes were like the encyclopedia.
Yeah, and the convenience of them was that many of the manufacturers actually printed their entire catalog as part of Suites. So you really only had to go one place. You hardly had to have a manufacturer's catalog library in some cases. I thought they were invaluable, but they shrunk. You know, as we saw electronic come into vogue and making it more easily searchable on the internet, suites eventually disappeared. So we don't have that kind of discovery anymore. So the discovery that I'm looking for, because this is something that I think it's a surprise somewhat, because you may not be looking for the exact item, but you find something that catches your attention because you can put it in context of a project and say, oh, I could have used this in this location, or I may be able to use this in some future application because it's solving a problem that I saw once before. So trade shows, the journals, ForSpecs is actually and ARCAT are sort of performing the same service that suites once upon a time did, because you can see a list of materials or manufacturers or products in one place, similar materials that allows you to do a little bit of visual comparison, maybe some text comparisons before you even dive into it. And that's part of this discovery process that I'm suggesting is important.
And that leads into our next polling question.
Okay.
What do people like to use on the internet for making these serendipitous discoveries? You know what serendipity means? It's Robert Heinlein defines it as digging for worms and finding gold.
Well, that's a good example. I've heard that becoming a specifier is also serendipitous. That's not a career that most people choose.
No, I didn't go to school to learn to do that. But it was a good career move for me.
Okay, so you folks out there are staying right with us. This is great. Answering the questions pretty quickly.
Okay, where are we on that? Yeah, we got 60% in there.
Is there any surprise to this? That Google, Bing, and other search engines are by far and away? I mean, to me it used to be that ForSpecs, and no offense to Colin Gilboy who's running ForSpecs, but at the time that he started that, it was a spectacular service because it kept you pointed in construction products. But with the power that Google has brought to us in the search engine, you almost don't need any kind of a directory anymore because you can type in enough keywords to almost get you exactly where you need to be.
The one advantage that ARCAT and ForSpecs have, though, over using just a typical internet search engine is that they also can take you very directly to sample manufacturer specs. ARCAT has a whole set of those that you don't even have to go visit the manufacturer. You can just look through the master format numbers, and just the other day I was looking for a sample spec for fall arrest devices and in fact found something very quickly on ARCAT. I'm a little surprised that ARCAT doesn't compete that more of our folks seem to look at ForSpecs than ARCAT, which is kind of reverse to my own personal preference, but it's whatever works. I'm not surprised that the suites is the trailing far behind, because I don't myself find their website very friendly, user-friendly.
Yeah, I'm not really surprised by the results at all. It's right about where I expected it to be. So I think you just confirmed where the industry is, and I think this is actually saying a good deal for Colin that everybody is still finding ForSpecs as a valuable tool. Okay.
And of course, ForSpecs does have also one thing that has the forum where you can ask questions and share ideas with people, and that can be very informative in the process of discovery.
Absolutely.
Oh, your previous, we got a little ahead on on the search. I'm sorry, I forgot about that, because your discovery is where you're not looking for something in particular. You're just kind of trolling for information, and you find something wonderful. Whereas if we know what you're looking for, then you can focus in on and search.
Right. So yeah, and search is really, it's a pointed discovery, because you're looking for something very specific. Hopefully you know what it is that you're looking for. And one of the things, and you can see here I had 4 specs listed under discovery. I also have it listed under search, because if you know a manufacturer that you need to get to, 4 specs is an easy way to find the information, just realizing that they have 2 different search methods, the yellow box and the blue box, and that takes you to different results. I like the last item on here, Lewis, and you probably get more of a chance of this than I do, but this is a great learning experience for the younger staff, and to assign them the search tasks.
When I was a co-op student back in the 60s, one of my bosses specifically told me, he says, now, if you don't have any assigned work, and that happens from time to time, what I want you to do is grab one of the suite's catalogs and start thumbing through it, go through it, and read some of the catalogs.
Yep, because it's a great learning experience. So, and if we rely on some of the younger staff to try to do some of the searches, it does a couple of things. It gives them the skills to find the information that they're going to need eventually, and gets them exposed to some of these products and manufacturers that they might not otherwise see if we didn't give them the specific task. The one comment
when we discuss with them what they find, we can point out what's important, what are we looking for, and what are the salient features, the attributes of a given product that will decide whether or not we want to specify it in a given project. Because it may be a perfectly good product, but not appropriate for this particular project that we're working on.
The one item I do want to share with you, because it came as a bit of a surprise to me. My daughter teaches high school English, and she gave an assignment to her students where they actually had to search the internet to be able to find information. Now, realizing that these are high school juniors and seniors today, and that they're looking on the internet, and that probably none of them have ever actually used a library card catalog, their method of searching is Google and the search engines. But the amazing part was that when they wanted to type in the search string, where Google will normally provide a hint or a suggestion as to a search string for you, that some of these students actually believe that if that hint did not come up to be exactly what they wanted to type in, that string was not possible to search, or that there were no search results for that string. So it's a different kind of a mindset, and I think that goes back to this intern issue, where we want to try to get them involved and try to get them making sure that they're able to use the tools to find what they need to find to do their jobs. Okay, go ahead, Lewis.
Oh, David, I wanted to sneak in here for a couple things. One, we hit 100, so you're welcome.
Wow. Thank you, everyone who signed on. That's fabulous.
So I wanted to get you guys on that one. But also we have some comments from this last poll question. I wanted to get into the conversation. So first, Charisse said on Twitter, hey, what about in-person product reps? So I guess we wouldn't search the internet for in-person product reps, but she wanted to make sure we all remembered them.
We're going to go there next, Reese.
And then we have some additional comments about more specific related to the things we just talked about. So Mary Noe brought in that she uses 4 specs when she needs to find a variety of manufacturers for a product. And then they use Google when I know the main manufacturers I'm already looking for. Tommy Smith points out a slight problem here is that when you use Google or Bing, where are you when you get there? So even once you find the results, you don't necessarily know what site you're going to or whether or not it's a reputable information. Larry brings in the point here that he also uses the Blue Book.
Tommy Smith is a very suspicious individual. I know from personal experience.
Larry Whitlock adds in here that he also uses the Blue Book to look for products and manufacturers in his region. We have some other comments.
Yeah, that's a very interesting comment, and I know that they send the books out, and it's also available electronically.
We also have a comment here from Marilyn. She says that for specs listing of manufacturer changes, such as mergers, purchases, or no longer in business, is a very valuable service as well that you can't necessarily always find on the other sites. And then we have a comment here from Larry again. I always seem to be the one who found out that the office catalogs were out of date, so I would contact the manufacturer to ask how to contact the current rep in my area. Kind of also building on, I think, what we're about to talk into next. Marilyn points out that ARCOM master spec supporting document discussions are also a valuable knowledge source. And lastly, Jerry points out, we're looking at this, but where do architects go to find what they're looking for? So maybe a question we can ask in the future.
Ah, that's an interesting question. Okay, and I don't even know that I can answer that, because sometimes they absolutely surprise me. I don't know where they find some of the information that they find. I don't know. The interior design products sometimes.
I was just going to say this: the interior designers that are always coming up with the stuff that I have to write custom sections for.
Yeah, they baffle me. I don't know where they find this stuff. Okay.
Bless their hearts. Neocon.
So maybe that's it. Okay, so let's press on, Louis. Okay, so Charisse, we do want to recognize the product reps.
David, they're doing just what you said into the discovery circle. They went to the trade show and they found all kinds of nifty stuff that they want to use.
So maybe that was it. I don't know. So Charisse, yes, we want to go to the product reps, trusted advisors, and you know the thing that I can not stress enough about the product reps is that they give you an opportunity to talk. They give you the opportunity to discuss what's going on the project, review the alternatives, bounce ideas back and forth about how to solve the problem. And I found myself in that position this week, trying to help an architect actually take what he has designed, almost ready to go out for bid for an exterior envelope, but as designed, the envelope didn't meet basic code requirements. It didn't comply with NFPA 285. So getting the product reps involved, they were able to furnish a lot of data to the architect and actually allowed him to make a decision to be able to change the design to something that will satisfy the code. So the experience that they bring, the options that they can provide, it's all invaluable.
One of the things I find them very useful for is many companies make a bewildering array of very similar options, products. For example, the Henry Company has, I don't know how many air and water barriers, and you know there's 7 or 8 of them, and trying to figure out which one I need on this particular project can be problematical, and that even extends even to glazing systems. You know, what do I really need? How tall is that wall, and how deep does the profile need to be? And there are a number of questions. But one of to back up just a bit on the trusted business, one of the things that is a key to me about being a trusted advisor is if I call them up or I'm talking with them in person and I ask about something and that rep, he or she says, I don't have what you need, but I know who does, and once you call X. That to me raises their believability quotient quite a bit, and their trust level, my trust level.
Because they're helping you solve your problem, even if they don't have a product to fit the bill. Yeah, so who do you call the next time? Absolutely. You're going to call the advisor, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, and this one's going to go to Tommy Smith's concern, I believe. So the internet and websites, it's absolutely mainstream today, but the biggest concern that I have about just doing a Google-based or browser-based web search is you don't know where you land. Just like Tommy says, the basic search window might suggest that you're going to get to the right place, but you have to really be aware of where you are. You may be searching for a product, you may be on a distributor's website, they may not have the current product information as opposed to being on a manufacturer's website. I found that in several cases, especially searching door hardware components, because most of the distributors are also advertising the same products, and trying to make sure that you land on the manufacturer's website instead so that you get the most credible information you just have to be careful.
And also, when you turn up those searches, a lot of the companies share the same acronyms, and you may wind up with something that has nothing to do with what you're looking for. I was just today I was looking for, I wanted to learn more about PMMA roof membrane, and so I typed in those letters and I got all kinds of weird stuff that had nothing to do with roof membranes, roof systems.
Well, and don't forget Big Brother out there trying to help. Remember, Google is tailoring search results to fit you. So if Lewis and I search for the exact same thing, Google is probably not going to return the same results. I may get what I want, and Lewis may have to go and do another search to find the right information, depending upon what websites you frequent, Lewis.
That's right, and also whether or not it's associated with country music, since I live here in Nashville.
Yep, so it could, I mean, the results could be entirely different. And even when you think you do land on the right website, sometimes trying to dive into the website and find the information is just almost impossible.
Very, very difficult. And that's one of the advantages of having a paper catalog, is that you can through it, and many times it's a lot easier to find. Most of the sites, I won't say all, but most of them, if you know what you're looking for, you may be able to drill down, but a lot of times the problem is you don't know what you're looking for. And I keep telling manufacturers what they need is like a decision tree, that you answer 3 or 4 questions and it'll point you to the right direction. But there are some major manufacturers who have terrible websites that it's very difficult, and they are people like roofing manufacturers who make a whole bunch of different systems that are very similar, but trying to find exactly what you want can be time-consuming.
Right. Well, and in the example of the problem I was trying to solve with the envelope this week, the manufacturers for the air and water barrier, the manufacturers for the continuous insulation, you could find their product information. What you could not find is the limitations about how you put those assemblies together. And actually, I had to rely on the product rep to be able to find that single page that you needed to be able to explain where you could and could not use the product.
That's a good point. And we might remind folks of a session that we previously had on the ICC evaluation services reports, that that's another source because sometimes the manufacturers won't tell you where you, like David says, like for example, EIFS. I don't know of any EIFS manufacturer that has an evaluation report that says it's okay to use in an overhead horizontal position, but you go to any number of restaurants or motels and you'll find EIFS on the canopy, but that's probably not right, and so you need to check the evaluation report to see if that's permitted or not.
Okay.
And that's available on the internet. It's free.
Yes, it is.
But one of the great things about the internet, as opposed to the old days where we had to photocopy details and information out of the catalogs, and we'd put it in a three-ring notebook that wound up under a pile of used red lines, and so it was lost to everybody. We can copy information and put it into a document that resides on our internal network that everybody can on the project team can access. So the PA can pick out a glazing system and a type of glass and put those in and write a little note about where to use the curtain wall as opposed to where to use the storefront, or if you have two different types, where they go, and pointing out features, draw little arrows and stuff. And if you use OneNote for that, when you copy a detail or a block of text from the internet, OneNote will automatically put a hyperlink into it back to the web page, so that if you're looking at it and you say, oh, I want some more information, you just click on that and it will open up your browser and take you back to where that information came from.
It's a convenient tool, and there's some other programs that do something similar. I use Evernote myself, which I can share with the entire team, so that we are all sharing the exact same information without an elaborate, say, network location.
Yes.
Just do it a web-based program. Okay, let's press on, Louis. I think we have a poll question that goes with this, don't we?
We do, in fact. Let's get that up there.
Yeah, and then we can talk about it a little bit as we go.
So everybody, tell us about your libraries. At one time, in my firm in Cincinnati that I was working for from 1982 to 1995, I had a space that was probably 20 feet square of my catalog library, and even the manufacturer reps would come in and look at it with awe. But it was a pain to keep up. But on the other hand, that's in the 80s, that's what you had to do.
Yep, because it was really about the only way that you could be able to make sure that you had the information available. That or Suites catalogs.
Right. So we got the polling question up, and
we have some feedback here from both Sheldon and Charisse almost simultaneously saying, "Where's the option for gone?"
I was going to ask Louis that. Okay, Charisse, well, you're reading my mind.
There are some things that I just have to keep.
I am right there with you, Louis. There are certain catalogs that finding the right information, it's still much easier in print copy. Door hardware is my favorite example.
Yeah. I
will not get rid of the door hardware catalogs.
One of my favorite catalogs, I don't use it all that much, but when I need it, is there's a company called Williams Everlastic that makes different types of gaskets in different sizes, and for soft joints and for acoustical seals and things like that. And it even comes with a page of of samples that says you can push on it and see how squishy the different gaskets are.
Well, is there any surprise to this poll, Lewis?
No,
No. Yeah, and we should have put the one on there for it's
What
gone.
catalogs?
What catalogs?
What is a catalog?
Yeah, I was going to add, we also had 3 additional. Larry, Mary, and Craig also said theirs are officially gone. And actually, with regards to that, Tommy Smith is asking, since most of these are gone, how many of you are including hyperlinks into your spec masters now? So you can actually reference back to where the information came from. I do have some other comments too, but I'll let you talk about the poll results before we get to those comments as well.
Okay. Well, I mean, the fact that 83% of you are saying it's getting smaller, yeah, there's no surprise. We're going to see, I think, for the most part, the paper copies almost go away. There will still be those of us hanging on to certain things, but you almost can't even afford the space anymore that it would take.
Oh, yeah, like I was describing that room that was 20 feet square or 20 by 16 or something. That's a lot of square feet that you had to pay rent on just to be able to access that information, and you could have put 4 or 5 people in there working and making money for the company.
Right. Plus, you almost have to, once it gets to a certain size, you almost need a full-time librarian just to take care of it, to keep it in order.
There's the next polling question is related. So could we go ahead and do that one?
Sure could. Just 1 second. So, and with this one, while you're all voting, actually, we had a comment from Joe Conti that came in as a good lead up into this, actually. He was asking, are digital project binders such as CDs used or trusted by specifiers? So I guess we'll find out first if anyone's using them. And then we also have a comment here from, let me scroll down, from Patricia Gallup saying her library is now a nice library of thumb drives. So,
So she's a user of thumb drives.
Yeah, and the places where I see the library still exists is really on the interior side, because it's more about samples than physical printed copy necessarily. So there's still a place for that kind of a library, but I really believe the print copy is almost going away. All right, so where are we on this poll here, Matt?
we are sharing it now, so also not much of a surprise, I think.
Yep, that 87% are not using either. And the thing that came to mind when I saw the CD-ROM option is a specifier that I know, I think I'll let him remain nameless, but he actually took the CDs that he received from the manufacturers and used them as Christmas ornaments to decorate the office tree, punching them so that they were no longer usable. But the difficulty there is it's almost the same as maintaining the paper library. Who's going to catalog the CDs and put them in some sort of an order, and even the memory sticks? Who's going to maintain this to a point where you know where to find them?
And besides, with the memory sticks, it's too tempting to just dump the data and put your family photos on it.
Yeah,
Don't tell the manufacturers, though, because I collect them at every trade show I go to.
Okay, I won't say anything, Lewis. All right.
We have some comments here along those lines. Cherise says that she asked for thumb drives, but then uploads those to a library directory on their server. And going on that line, Louis Schlatter indicates that in the office of 500 people, CDs will get lost and USBs are a security issue. So we agree with that. But I think Taylor Coley brings up a good question here, potentially, on where this might be going in the future, is what about bookmarks in browsers? You know, the idea that you can technically share bookmarks and favorites with people. Is that potentially where catalogs might be going in the future, or libraries in an office?
I think
Possibly.
I think importing the stuff from the internet with the hyperlinks into OneNote or into Evernote or one of those other free form database programs that are searchable and can be shared by a number of people. I think that's really the future. The one place I do use, there's a few CDs that I do use, is the Tile Council has their book on CD-ROM, and that's one that I do in fact pull out and throw into my computer. But it may be going the way of the floppy disk. And of course,
right. Well,
a number of our listeners may not even know why they call them floppies, but I remember when they were floppy instead of rigid.
Okay, but yeah, you mentioned a good one with this TCNA handbook, because that to me is more a reference book.
Yes,
and we do maintain a collection of those on our server for everyone to access. So it's not just TCNA. There are a number of other reference documents that are not necessarily standards, but are often used as background information to be able to actually write the specification. So
how much does it cost for a manufacturer to have a salesman spend an hour getting to your office, talking to you, in an hour, and the next 15-20 minutes to go to somebody else, even if he just spends a half an hour with you, and then leave a catalog on your desk? I'll bet that costs $300 or $400.
Oh, at least. And the kinds of printing that they are doing and the binding that they're using for the catalogs themselves have got to be could be close to 100 or more, depending upon the size and the.
Oh, at least.
At least.
Yeah. So it's a win-win situation all the way around to get those into electronic format for most subjects.
Right. Okay. Well, we're nearing the end here, I think.
Yes. Let me go to the next slide. And this kind of gets into where we were talking just a little bit before about the TCNA and other standards manufacturer associations that do provide standards and guidelines, some of which, because they are rather extensive, are bigger than you may want to have in a book on your shelf, and so they can put them onto CDs. And of course, in the old days when people used CAD details as opposed to BIM, they could have standard details as a starting point to use in your drawings.
Yeah, and I will say the ones that are available at no cost, even though they're available on the website, those I am usually downloading, because I can keep the older version if I need it for reference for a past project, to be able to go in and solve a particular problem based upon a prior standard. So I do keep a record of those.
But examples of these is I like the Steel Stud Manufacturers Association. They have an evaluation report that says that has load tables that are certified to meet code standards. So they have all the different sizes and shapes and modules, and they also on their website have a handy set of standard details that I can point my people to and say, this is how you draw the stuff.
It's always helpful to have that available. Okay, on to the next one. And
that's what we're doing right now, ain't it?
It is. And, you know, I put this right up there with the manufacturers' representatives. Building your own personal network is so important, to be able to pick up the phone or write an email to ask a question. And it doesn't have to be, or you don't, I should say, you don't need to exclude your competitors, because, gosh, they may come back and ask you a question. Sharing the information, I think, is what it's really all about, and we're really just trying to get the best job done for the owner. So if we can build these social networks, and industry networks, that we're going to have a leg up on our competitors that may not.
That was actually, David, I'm sure you remember that was actually an item that was in the CSI Code of Ethics in the old days when we had the Code of Ethics, is that members agreed to freely share that kind of information. You know, that we're not going to sit on it and guard it as being a man, I found this great stuff and I'm not going to tell anybody else about it because it might give me some imagined competitive edge. That we just don't do that. That we pass stuff back and forth and help one another along.
And this practice group is probably one of the best examples, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Because we love having everybody that's signed on with us, and all of the comments that we get from you, it's fabulous.
And we learn stuff from you. We're hoping that any of you who attend Construct 2014, we're going to set up a time where you can meet us at the CSI feature booth and see if we really do have faces made for webinars, and shake our hands and kick the tires, and we'll have a little meet and greet, and who knows, we might go find a place to sample a beverage or two afterwards.
We may just do that. Okay, I think we're right here at the end, so we probably need to chat a bit about what we're doing next month.
Okay, what are you doing next month?
Well, we sent out the invitation. We're doing Pekka Kucha. We've invited all of our practice group members to submit their own passion, what they would like to talk about. We had 6 volunteers, so we are at our limit of what we think we can accommodate in an hour's time. And we had some great ideas, so I'm looking forward to everything that they're going to bring to and share with us. So next month we're back again to the first Thursday of the month, and that would be the 7th, as I remember. And we're going to let our practice group members run the show.
And that goes right along with what David and I have always believed, is that I learn stuff from younger members all the time. Well, of course, almost everybody's younger than me who belongs to CSI, but you know, we know that you may have some good and valuable insights, and that's why we value the chat boxes and people raising their hands so they can make verbal comments. And we appreciate your cards and letters and suggestions for future presentations and discussion sessions, because we're all in this together to help one another succeed.
Yes, we are. Okay, so next month, August 7th, 3 o'clock Eastern, come support your group members in the presentations that they're going to provide. We'll get Matt to send out a headline description of each one of the presentations so that you have a good idea of what to expect. So thank you for joining, and welcome. Thank you for helping us to set a new record today. That was fabulous, and we look forward to seeing you again next month.
All right. Well, as we get going, one final comment from the group for you, Lewis and Dave. We did have a request from a couple different people asking if maybe a future session could be on how you use OneNote and Evernote and other type software like that to collect that information for meetings. So I'll let you guys think about whether or not we want to do any tech training on future calls. And as a last-minute call before we thank everybody here,
I think we can definitely say that's an affirmative. We will.
All right.
There's some more things that we want. David and I talked about when we were when David suggested this topic. I came up with a quite different outline from David, so we may do another session on it here in 2 or 3 months, and we'll have a hands-on demonstration of one or more of those software programs to show, give folks some ideas about how to use it.
Great. And then lastly, just as a heads up then, since we've been keeping an eye on the total, with the people that have come and gone, we did a total of 123 people today. So great job, everyone on the call. And thank you again, David and Lewis, for being the masterminds behind this session. Look forward to August, and you can all disconnect and have a great day. Thanks, everyone.